Let's talk about this whole de-risking of the global supply chain story. And what is going on? Do you see a lot of Chinese companies, especially manufacturers, looking for something else, somewhere else? I mean, sure, Vietnam was the winner from the first Trump administration, and look what happened with, of course, that eye-watering level of tariffs from this administration. But it's really just no simple substitute for China's export sector. So what do you see actually happening on the ground?
So China will remain the world's manufacturing hub. You can't replace its scale. But firms will nevertheless look to rebalance, build resilience in their supply chain by pursuing a China plus N strategy. That means, yes, retaining capability in China, but investing in multiple countries. As you mentioned, there's Vietnam, but India is increasingly attractive. I was just at industrial parks in Morocco, Turkey. Japanese investors were there at the same time. So there is a global shift underway where the supply chain is beginning to fragment across a larger number of countries.
So when you talk about China and one, I think that's what you said, China will be producing different stuff, though, because China wants to move up the value chain, and that's what Washington is pushing back against.
Absolutely. So China will continue to move up that value chain into more advanced products. Electric vehicles are ones, but pharmaceutical is a growing opportunity as well. That type of production is actually more difficult to relocate to other markets. There will be attempts, but China will remain the anchor for these types of products. So that global trade battle is not going to be over in the next week or the next month. It's going to persist with us over the long term.
Oh, boy. Reshoring. Do you see it happening, especially when it comes to strategic parts and products? Do you think it will be ramped up more because of the whole Rose Garden tariff announcements?
So reshoring will occur most rapidly in strategic sectors where the government is willing to lean in, whether providing policy support or other types of subsidies, such as semiconductors, of course, but pharmaceutical is another area to watch out for. But reshoring otherwise, particularly for consumer goods, is quite difficult to execute, if only because you're having to change your entire factory line altogether to go from one that's quite labor-intensive to one that's more highly automated. Not an easy process. It's also an expensive one.
So, as you mentioned, it is expensive. So what is your advice for some of your clients and looking to do something about this situation, looking at a range of new strategies? What is your number one strategy in your recommendation book?
Resilience is key, and that means having a manufacturing presence or a sourcing presence across multiple countries, China included. You have to stay in China because you want to keep up with the latest trends, particularly automation or the layering of artificial intelligence into the manufacturing process. We all need to be a part of that. But of course, you need a presence in not just Vietnam. You've got to be looking at Malaysia, Thailand, India, even further abroad. As I mentioned, Morocco, Turkey, Mexico, of course. So that's what's needed to genuinely build resilience into a supply chain.
Just doing a bit of a pulse check on the Chinese businesses since we're here in Tianjin, China, do you think they're bracing for some meaningful, lasting damage from the tariffs, or are they just sort of looking beyond the tariff situation and doing what they've been working on, which is new productive forces, self-sufficiency of some of the strategic areas?
So in our conversations, initially there was a huge amount of shock. But we're now moving beyond that. To your point, many manufacturers, leading players, are now looking at what they can do to drive new efficiency gains into their manufacturing process, to cut cost, improve design. I was speaking to one major manufacturer just the other day who talked about his growing number of dark factories that aren't reliant on human input at all. And the way that he's beginning to use artificial intelligence to design new products. So it may well be that Chinese manufacturing exits this particular crisis cheaper, faster, and potentially even cleaner.